The 1980s, a science fiction convention, and tiny robots the size of shoeboxes. That's where robot combat started. What you just saw is where it is today. So how did such a small beginning for robot combat evolve into the 6-feet powerhouse fighting robots we have now? And just what is the future shaping up to look like? The entire story involves Star Wars, AI-controlled BattleBots, 12-ton robots punching each other in the face, and one single show that was watched by nearly 2 billion people. It's quite a journey. Let's start right at the beginning. October 1989, Denver, Colorado. A group of mechanical engineers called the Denver Mad Scientist Club organized what they called the Critter Crunch, the first robot combat tournament in history. The robots had to fit inside 1 cubic foot. They couldn't weigh more than 20 pounds. The arena was a folding table, and the audience stood close enough to the action that the occasional flamethrower or pneumatic ram that technically wasn't allowed became everyone's problem. It was chaotic and dangerous and completely amateur. It was also, without anyone fully realizing it at the time, the beginning of a sport. 3 years later, a San Francisco animatronics designer named Marc Thorpe was independently trying to build a remote-controlled vacuum cleaner. The device wasn't cleaning anything. It was, however, very good at destroying things. Thorpe had spent 15 years at Lucasfilm building special effects for the Star Wars films. He knew how to make things look spectacular. He also knew how to spot a business opportunity. He decided to turn his failed radio-controlled vacuum cleaner into the basis for a brand new concept. Thorpe launched the first Robot Wars event in San Francisco in 1994. A proper event, tickets sold. Among the competitors that day was Will Wright, the man who would go on to create The Sims. The crowd loved it. Thorpe ran 3 more events over the next 3 years. Then the lawyers arrived. Thorpe's financial backer claimed ownership of the Robot Wars name. Legal disputes consumed the competition from 1997 onward. Thorpe eventually lost the rights to his own creation entirely. He died in November 2023. Having watched the sport, he found it grow into something he probably couldn't have imagined in that San Francisco warehouse in 1994. While Marc Thorpe's legal battles were consuming the American competition, something unexpected was happening on the other side of the Atlantic. Mentor, the UK production company, had acquired the television rights to the Robot Wars name. On February 20th, 1998, Robot Wars premiered on BBC Two.
But tonight I have the unenviable task of reporting that warfare has been taken out of man's hands.
The first series was hosted by Jeremy Clarkson, a presenter who later admitted he was significantly less enthusiastic about it than he appeared. The second series brought in Craig Charles, better known as Dave Lister, from BBC Two's other flagship show, Red Dwarf.
If you've ever wondered whether machines are taking over the world, then wonder no more.
Charles has described standing in the dressing room before the first recording, looking down at the arena, watching robots being pulled in on invisible wire because nothing was working, and thinking, oh my God, what have I done with my career? Robot Wars became the most watched show on BBC Two. 6 million viewers every Friday night. It ran until 2004. revived in 2016 on BBC Two, hosted by Dara O'Brien. 155 episodes across its entire run, broadcast in 26 countries. For an entire generation of British children and a significant chunk of their parents, Robot Wars was pure robotic excitement. Meanwhile, back in America, the community of builders left behind by Thorpe's legal troubles had formed something new. Greg Munson and Trey Roski, veteran Robot Wars competitors, who had piloted a robot called La Machine, founded BattleBots. The first official event was held in Long Beach, California, in August 1999. A television producer named Lenny Stucker, who had previously produced boxing matches for HBO, watched the event and immediately saw what it could become. Comedy Central picked up BattleBots in 2000. The network's senior vice president described the appeal simply: it was really funny and really nerdy.
These robots really tore each other up, but it was a unanimous decision when we awarded...
The internet was not a big thing yet, so nerd culture wasn't celebrated. It was sports for the nerdy person. BattleBots beat South Park as Comedy Central's highest-rated program during Season 3. Jay Leno revealed his own BattleBot on The Tonight Show. Malcolm in the Middle featured the competition in an episode. A clothing line launched. Replica robots went on sale. 5 seasons on Comedy Central, then ABC, then Discovery Channel. For a period of time, a genuinely significant cultural moment. Then, the flame eventually went out. The format had a ceiling. Wheeled and tracked machines destroying each other was spectacular. It was also, eventually, finite. Once you'd seen the most powerful spinner and the most effective flipper, the next season offered variation rather than escalation. Audiences moved on. The sport didn't disappear, though. It went underground. A dedicated community of builders kept running events through the mid-2000s and into the 2010s. The NPC Charity Open in 2004. The Rochester Robot Rampage in 2005. Student-focused Bots IQ competitions year after year. The people who loved this sport kept it alive through a decade when it had no mainstream platform and almost no mainstream audience. They were waiting for something. They didn't know exactly what. In 2013, 1 year after Real Steel convinced millions of people that humanoid robot boxing was something to get excited about, the SyFy channel took the obvious next step.
Is everybody ready for another amazing night of Robot Combat League action?
Robot Combat League. 9 episodes, 12 teams, 8-foot, 1,000-pound humanoid robots controlled by human pilots wearing exosuits. One person controlling the arms through body movement, another controlling the legs with joysticks from the sidelines. The robots had names: Brimstone, Steampunk, Axe. They had distinct designs, distinct personalities, distinct weaknesses. The show was hosted by WWE superstar Chris Jericho. It was high profile with high production value. George Lucas even turned up as a guest. Mark Thorpe, a BattleBots veteran who had spent his career building animatronics for Men in Black and Hellboy, designed all 12 robots himself. It was, genuinely, as close to Real Steel as anyone had managed to produce in reality. It ran for 1 season. The idea worked. The technology didn't. The robots' movements were limited by the hydraulic systems available in 2013. The exosuit to robot latency created a jerky, imprecise quality to the fights that the best production values in the world couldn't disguise. SyFy didn't renew it, but the appetite was there. A major cable network had bet money on it. Audiences had watched. The template existed. It just needed the technology to catch up. 2 years later, in 2015, an American company called MegaBots posted a YouTube video challenging Japan's Suidobashi heavy industry to a giant robot duel. The video went viral. Japan accepted.
You guys are about to engage in the first ever giant robot duel.
2 years later, after raising venture capital, running a Kickstarter, and building a 12-ton robot called Eagle Prime specifically for hand-to-hand combat. MegaBots fought Suitobashi's Cortaz in a repurposed steel mill in Japan.
These are the largest, heaviest combat robots on Earth. Imagine being able to move around a car as if it was nothing.
Eagle Prime won. The dual video was released on YouTube and watched by millions. It was also partly scripted. One of the co-founders later admitted openly that several sequences were pre-planned. That the robots, while real and the damage genuine, couldn't perform reliably enough to deliver the spectacle audiences expected without some theatrical assistance. The fundamental question the co-founder posed after the company eventually went bankrupt is the same question the entire industry is still wrestling with today. Is giant robot combat WWE or UFC? Scripted entertainment theater or genuine sport? MegaBots never answered it. The ambiguity, by their own account, was part of what killed them. The story then returns back to the Robot Wars and BattleBots formula. In 2018, it was time for the format to move across the world, hitting viewing numbers that were beyond what anyone could have expected. In January of that year, a Chinese production company called The Makers launched King of Bots on Zhejiang TV. 3 months later, they put a companion show on Youku, This is Fighting Robots. Same format, celebrity team managers, heavyweight wheeled robots, destruction. By the end of 2018, This is Fighting Robots had 1.8 billion views on Youku alone. Not million, billion. The sport that Marc Thorpe had started in the San Francisco warehouse in 1994. Inspired by a vacuum cleaner that was better at destroying things than cleaning them, had become one of the most watched entertainment formats on Earth in a country that had no significant robot combat tradition of its own until that year. Neither show produced a second season, but what they proved was harder to dismiss than a viewing figure. The appetite for robot combat entertainment wasn't American or British, it was fully worldwide. BattleBots returned to Discovery Channel in 2018. The production values were higher. The robots were more sophisticated. Robot combat still had fans, a lot of them. But something has shifted, not in robot combat itself, in the world around it. Between 2015 and 2020, while BattleBots was finding its audience again, humanoid robotics had made a series of advances that would eventually change what robot combat even meant. Boston Dynamics Atlas was doing backflips. Unitree was developing general-purpose humanoid platforms that could walk, run, and navigate real-world environments. The DARPA Robotics Challenge had produced an entire generation of engineers who knew exactly how to make robots move under unpredictable physical conditions. The robots in BattleBots were purpose-built for one thing: destroy, flip, spin. They had no application beyond the arena. They couldn't learn. They couldn't adapt to new tasks. They were extraordinary at what they did and incapable of anything else. The humanoid robots emerging from research labs and commercial startups were the opposite: general purpose, learning capable, autonomous. A robot that could fight could also run a half marathon, play table tennis, or work on a factory floor. Combat was one expression of a general capability, not the only thing the machine existed to do. In 2026, modern AI technology was finally starting to merge with traditional robot combat. A team at the University of Southern California unveiled something that brought these two worlds together directly. Nemesis, the first fully autonomous AI-controlled robot built specifically to compete in BattleBots. No human driver, no joystick. 3 neural networks running perception, navigation, and attack decisions simultaneously. David Lay, the 20-year-old student who led the project, said, "We're pushing the boundary on what can be done with robotics. We're building this robot to destroy other robots, but we've also had to solve a lot of other engineering problems." Nemesis is the moment the old format and the new technology made contact for the first time. The arena that Marc Thorpe built, now inhabited by machines that Thorpe couldn't have conceived of in 1994. So let's go full circle here. Where is robot combat sport today? Right now, in 2026, 3 organizations are building robot combat sport simultaneously. Each one has a different approach. The first answer comes from China. The ultimate robot knockout legend launched in February 2026 in Shenzhen. 16 teams, fully autonomous robots. No human pilot during fights. The machines make their own decisions in real time. Aerial rotation kicks. Combat maneuvers rivaling the moves of the world's top UFC fighters. Season running through December, with finalists competing for 10 million Chinese yuan, approximately $1.4 million. Ultimate Robot Knockout Legend is the highest ceiling vision of where robot combat goes. No human in the loop. The machine fights alone. The second answer is playing out on the streets of San Francisco and Los Angeles. Ultimate Fighting Bots UFB was founded in early 2025. Their position is almost the direct opposite of Ultimate Robot Knockout Legends, believing that robot combat should be accessible to anyone. A game controller and a decent internet connection is all a UFB pilot needs to compete. The robots are real. The fights are real. The pilots can be anywhere on Earth. An event in Venice Beach was attended by a well-known figure, Ed Roski. So, founder of BattleBots, competing in a humanoid robot fighting league on a beach in California in 2025. The past and present of robot combat sport in one arena. The third organization, also based in San Francisco, has already been attracting local media attention over the past few months.
Futuristic Fight Club getting its start in San Francisco.
Yeah, all new VR-controlled fighting robots faced off at a boxing gym on Van Ness Avenue tonight. It was a preview for a bigger robot battle that's coming up on Friday.
REK, which stands for Robot Entertainment Combat. Combat spelt with a K, has been running humanoid robot fighting events for just over a year. Their approach is immersion. The pilot doesn't control the robot from the outside. They wear a VR headset and arm-mounted motion controllers and effectively inhabit the machine.
Ready, set, rock.
What the pilot does, the robot does. In June 2026, REK unveiled their newest fighter, a 6-foot EngineAI T800. The first of its kind imported to the United States. The same model used in China's Ultimate Robot Knockout Legend competition. That's worth taking note of. The first T800 model robot imported into the United States isn't for factory duty, it's for sport. REK's founder 6 summed up what he's building in one sentence.
Here we are making real steel a reality.
You heard the man, they're making real steel a reality. 3 leagues, 3 philosophies. Ultimate Robot Knockout Legend says remove the human from the equation entirely. UFB says put the human in via game controller and make it accessible to everyone. REK says put the human so deep inside the machine that the line between pilot and robot effectively disappears. All 3 are running simultaneously. All 3 are drawing audiences. None of them knows yet which model the sport ultimately converges on. But of course, it's more than possible that all of them carve out their own unique long-term position in the robot combat sporting landscape as the scene evolves over the coming years. 35 years, a folding table in Denver, a Wired magazine feature that funded a San Francisco arena event, 6 million British viewers on a Friday night, a community that kept the sport alive through a decade when nobody was watching, a USC student building a fully AI-controlled BattleBot. And now, 3 leagues, 2 continents, autonomous humanoids fighting for million-dollar prizes, and a co-founder of BattleBots piloting a Unitree G1 on a beach in Venice. That's quite a series of events to bring us to where we are today with robot combat sports. Marc Thorpe built the first Robot Wars in 1994 and lost the rights to his own creation to a legal dispute. He watched the sport he founded become a mainstream television phenomenon, fade, revive, and begin transforming into something categorically new. He died in 2023. He never got to see Ultimate Robot Knockout Legend. He never got to see the EngineAI T800 in a San Francisco cage. The sport he built is more alive right now than it has ever been. It just looks completely different from what he put on that first poster in 1994. And finally, we come to something a little bit different, and which on the surface may appear quite silly, but yet is an important indicator showing us the true appetite for humanoid robot combat in today's society.
History was made this evening in Detroit, and it looked like science fiction. A sold-out crowd got to see 9-foot-tall robots fight.
At a location on 7 Mile Road in Detroit, founder of the Interactive Combat League and Robowar has been running packed-out events for the past year.
It's like seeing Rock'em Sock'em robots, but in real life.
I don't know where else you see something like this. A bunch of robots destroying each other.
The fighters are dressed in elaborate 9-foot robot costumes as they battle in front of 500 spectators. Now, of course, this isn't technically a robot combat sporting event in the same vein as the other events we've covered. But the competition also involves real robots during the shows. Unitree humanoids dance with audience members and pose for photographs between bouts. And Boston Dynamics quadruped robots also have a starring role. At one recent event, a 10-year-old boy named Cotton Denard watched a Unitree robot compete in a dance-off against a human. He didn't cheer for it. "They are clankers," he shouted. "I want to be mean to the robots." His mother laughed. "You better be nice to them before they finish you." Robot sport already has slang. It already has rivalries. It already has a 10-year-old in Detroit. Who knows which side he's on? If 500 people will come and cheer for human performers, pretending to be fighting robots, then of course, this gives a very clear indication of the demand for the real thing.
I've seen professional wrestling, MMA, boxing, but never in my life have I seen 9-foot gladiators put them things together and get the 1-2 punching everybody, man. Awesome experience.
Can humanoid robot fighting evolve into a true mainstream cultural phenomenon over the next few years? Considering the sport is really in its birthing stage, all the current signals certainly show the potential of where this can go. 35 years from a folding table in Denver, the next 35 years are going to look nothing like the last. That's for sure. The progress of humanoid robot combat as a legitimate sport and culturally significant phenomenon is a fascinating story to follow. Just where will it be in 3 to 5 years' time with the rate AI and robotics technology is evolving? It certainly looks like real steel could be becoming reality in front of our very eyes. RoboSports Global is here to cover the entire landscape of robot sport as it evolves. Robot combat sport is certainly one of the formats to watch closely, but it is just one in a much larger field of robotic sporting spectacles beginning to form around the world. We'll catch you on the next one.